What's going on, everybody? Mr. Cooke. Well, now we have named this thing. So this started as two people who just shoot from the hip sometimes. And so this is actually our second run at this. And we've actually named this thing, although you'll be able to tell right away we didn't involve anybody bright or in marketing to do it. So
No.
we're calling this Cooking with Gas. So obviously the cook part makes a lot of sense. But for everybody who knows me, I am a hot air generating son of a gun, so the gas part kind of works for me. So we're gonna.
I love it.
This
You
is
could be English with that self-deprecating humor.
well. I told you before, man. I really went through high school watching British comedies. I mean, I was really in depth. That obviously, as old as I am, that was a long time ago. But everything from Fawlty Towers to Monty Python to the
Well, you're
Buckets
Monty
and the whole nine
Python
yards.
with the Ministry of Funny Walks.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the title of what we're doing. This is going to be the second one. We have not been waved off by enough people yet to stop doing it. So we're going to
There's
keep
still time yet.
we're
Still
cracking
time.
on, as they say, regardless of whether or not it's shite or not. See, I'm using those terms now because I feel compelled to do that when you're online. Yeah. So Chris,
Is what
how
it
are
is.
you, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm a little bit tired, I'm going to be honest with you. But yes, I'm good. I
Yeah.
had a busy week. Had the ups and downs of the World Cup. We got to see the Americans put on a show, which has become quite divisive in the UK. Like the halftime show and things like that, we don't really do. And
Right.
turning a half into two quarters as well, we don't really do. So there's been a bit of mockery around the kind of hydration breaks, just so we can squeeze a few adverts in. But the football was good. I'm not a big football guy, but or soccer guy, whichever proclivity you lean towards. But yeah, it was good. But then we had the down of England not getting to the final,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
the up of them smashing France 6-4 on Saturday.
Some things never change.
You know what? I don't know if you watched any of it, but the dull affair of the final, which is always a dull affair. But genuinely disgusted by the end of it. I don't know if you watched it, but the Argentinians turned their backs on the Spanish. Unfortunately, the Argentinian team made it a little bit too political with some of the history around Falklands as well, which is not allowed, and I believe they got away
No,
with
right.
FIFA, do FIFA. And I think sometimes, especially when you're in the limelight, you've got a responsibility to all those kids out there, the people who watch it and try and emulate these people, and they're fighting at the end of a World Cup final. It was just disgusting, to be honest. But anyway, apart from all of that, yeah, been a bit poorly in the
Wow.
middle.
Well, I
Been
can tell you
busy.
right now. Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad you're busy. I could say because you were talking about this, I can say right now, we in America live in a glass house as it relates to politicizing anything from a reflecting pool all the way all the way up to FIFA soccer game. We've got some people right now who can manage to tear up a ball bearing. And I swear to God, they have no sense of right or wrong about what to talk about and not talk about. So while all that was going on, it was kind of I get it. That's obviously not a behavior pattern you want to see. My God, right now I can't hold anybody accountable for acting like a fool when we got so much going on our side. I will say this. This is so the World Cup and the whole World Cup tournament. The thing I have taken the most heart from was seeing the reaction of everybody that came over to the US and actually got to kind of meet the real people, the normal human beings that actually populate this country, not the people who are not like the normal people in this country. So it was really great. It was wonderful to see that. It was good to see that the American people in general, on almost in total, were what I would expect them to be, which is, look, we're happy to have you. We want you to have a good time. We want you to be a part of the family. We want you to do all those things. So I have to say, I really have been watching more of those videos than anything when I've got a few spare minutes, just because I think every damn one of us over here should be watching them just to make sure that we understand how important it is for us to maintain what it is that really is the core of the United States, not the exception that gets broadcast. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I mean, look, we could go deep on
yeah, we could.
politics and
Right.
fake news and all that stuff and where stuff comes from, but all of it is kind of a little bit of an opinion for me, so I don't
It
really
is.
want to go too deep on it.
No.
However, you just don't believe everything that you read, and I spend probably in total about a month out of the whole year over in America, and I love it. I love
Yeah.
spending time over there because,
Yeah.
especially when you kind of get to spend time with real people, with the
Yeah.
relationships, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're
Work
salt of
off
the
your
earth,
own
right?
experiences as opposed to
Yeah.
other people's
Right.
experiences. I think is the
I
rule of
think where
thumb.
we get in trouble is we carry that with us wherever we go. So if somebody from here goes to England, they're going to be just as loud and open and want to be friends. You know what I mean? So they don't know how to adjust to another system. You know what I mean? So I think we get pegged with being, well, Americans are loud. Yeah, we're loud at home too. There's no two ways about it, dude. It is one
Oh,
volume, one speed.
I've got my American cohort coming over here next week or the week after. My sister lives in Boston, so
Yeah,
yeah, she's coming over for a little stay for a week or so. So she can bring all of the noise over, and
yeah,
she
yeah.
will.
Yeah, that so I would, but the bottom line, all of that was about people. You know what I mean? So that's really what we're talking about here
Yeah,
is real people. The ones that count.
and do you know it's I know you and me can turn everything into a business analogy, but whilst you say that, there is a natural segue into, well, the businesses that we
Right,
run, the
right.
differentiators that we build are the people. We
That's it.
embrace the people that we
That's right.
have in our business, or we fight it. And if we fight it, we end up being like everybody else and building what everybody else has got. And we've seen it 1,000 times before. If we embrace the people that we've got, that's when we get to be truly authentic. Last week we talked about the trust triangle, and number one is authenticity on that.
That's correct. Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, it's not hard. The diversity of the people that you have around you are what creates ideas that are different and are progressive and take advantage of where you could be versus where you are right now. There's so many business everything because I do a lot of judging of business plans, right? And so the 99 out of 100 of them are somebody trying to do something that's already been done, but just a little differently. That's a struggle. That's going to be a struggle from the get-go, right? Because they're just trying to capture some tiny part of a market that's already been kind of consumed, and already working itself toward, commoditization. That's what I tell them, man. I said, if you're going to spend your time doing something, don't spend your time building something where it's already becoming commoditized, for God's sakes. I mean, it takes a lot of energy. This is a lot I do. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to get even a simple business up off the ground. So spend your damn time on something that's unique, right? That's meaningfully unique, not just unique, but meaningfully unique, right? That's
Yeah,
the man.
absolutely. I think early doors go back to when you started yours and when I started mine and when every business owner started theirs. They dug deep on motivation, of
Yeah,
starting a business.
yeah,
But motivation wanes. Motivation is up and
yeah,
down. And
yeah,
with motivation, if it's down, that doesn't mean that you can just go and have a day off.
yeah, yeah.
I wasn't very well last week. I didn't take any days off.
You,
I've still got to crack on, but I've
yeah,
maybe fine tuned the work that I'm doing. Maybe not as
yeah,
many in persons because I don't want to make everybody else poorly. But yeah, I think that the more resilience and really just being. It sounds wet and waffly. Sorry, wet and wishy washy. But just being really passionate about what you do.
I was gonna say, yeah,
And I think whilst I'm inclined to agree, don't go and build what is now becoming a commodity. If that falls into your passion and that is kind of
well, that's
ticking your
true.
box, then go for it.
Yeah,
As long
yeah,
as you can justify it, because when your motivation is down and you're not feeling too good, that is tough turning up that day
yeah,
and doing that
yeah.
work when you're building
Uh-huh.
something that you just not got your heart in it.
Yeah, well,
It's
I'm
that
okay
simple.
with I'm okay with somebody who's going into something that's commoditized. If what they're going to do is disrupt that, you know what I mean? That's okay. You know what I'm saying? So it's just don't go in and do the exact same thing other people doing. If you love that, it's easier to go to work for somebody that's doing that if that's the case, right? Than trying to force that rock up the hill. I will say that, and I've had, and this is a best form I can think of to do this. I owe so many people an apology, and I'll tell you where I'm going with this. I
Have we got
honestly
enough
do.
time? Have we got enough
No,
time?
no, no. I'm not gonna name them all because it's too big a list. It's so massive. The number of people I have offended with this is so big that I could not name them all individually. But here's what I mean by that. I had always heard. I mean, I've heard this so many times growing up, and it goes back to what you were talking about, being passionate about something. I don't know how many times I've heard in my careers, people say, "Well, when you're really doing something that you love, you're not working a day. You never work a real day. You're not working." And I'm going, and I used to say, you know what? fuck you, dude. I have liked a lot of things that I have done in my career. I mean, I really have. I've enjoyed the people and the teams, but that horse shit of me finding something to do that when I wake up in the morning, it's not work. It's just me breathing air. That is complete bullshit, right? I mean, so I've been at this 60 years, right? At this point, just to be clear, yeah, I've been at it a while, and it's been in startups. So that should have been the area where if I was going to find one of those four-leaf clovers, then that ought to have been the zone. And at some point, I just go, fuck that. That's crazy. Somebody's making shit up and then trying to sell it to me. And then this opportunity that I'm doing now, because all those, by the way, all those startups and everything were premeditated. Someone or me had an idea and we planned it out and we drove to a conclusion, worked that to a conclusion, good or bad, or good or even. I've never lost any money, whether it's money or anything, but good or even, big returns or breaking even, it wasn't that was the trick. But it was premeditated. It was us planning it ahead of time, sitting around, coming up with ideas, coming up with a plan, driving that stone up the hill, making it happen. And it was work. That was work. That honest to God was work. And then the universe put all of the elements in place for what I'm doing now, which, it's IR game and it's an incident response exercise platform. So I teach a class in college, one class a semester on innovation engineering. Love teaching. That's great. Always been a technology guy. Love that. Always great. Love cybersecurity. Love the ecosystem we're in. Always great. MSPs. Love all that stuff. I like all of those elements. But then the universe basically put me in a position where all of that came together, and it was born out of a community effort. It wasn't premeditated at all. It literally coalesced. The universe coalesced this into a thing and sat it in my lap and says, well, you should be doing this. And it started easy, and then it got to be that I don't want to do anything else but this type of thing, right? It combines all of the things that I love into one thing. And I woke up one day going, I think I owe a bunch. I think I owe a bunch of people an apology, because after all these years, yeah, it's like I know, and it was, I care, right? I care about, if I have a transgression, I actually care. I really do care about that transgression. And I remembered as soon as I woke up and it hit me between the eyes that one morning, and I said, "Oh shit, man, I threw it out in the world that people were full of shit and they didn't know what they were talking about, and I made fun of them, and I did. And no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it physically. It was all in my head, but it doesn't matter. That's the whole part about that's the whole about integrity. It's not what people see you doing; it's what people don't see you doing that matters. And in my head, I knew that I was doing that. I was making fun of people, and I didn't believe it at all. And I thought they were full of crap. And when somebody said that, I would shake my head and be polite and walk away going, what a dumbass. I mean, there's no way, right? And then here I am waking up one morning going, oh shit, this is what they meant. This is what they were talking about.
You got me thinking, because like I like the more the philosophical approach, say it right, of certain things. And my youngest daughter, who's a social butterfly, what's that? A yellow on disc, isn't it? Something like that, or a green. I can never remember. Anyway, it was her last day of primary school, so this is where they, so she's 11. She's going up to high school in the UK, and she's going to a different school because she's such an extrovert. We've sent her to a performing arts school, really, which is a different school that her older sister went to. They're a feeder school, the one that she's got, into the one that my eldest daughter went to, but it wouldn't have been a good fit. So this new school, she's only going with 2 other people, and she's got this class of 60 kids, and she was broken up. She was so emotional about it. And I think I've got like faulty tear ducts or something, because I just don't cry. It's not that I don't want to cry, because I try. Sometimes I look a little bit constipated, so I just don't bother trying anymore. And so she thinks I'm in this emotional rock, but I kind of try and break things down. Given the work that I do, we do like root cause analysis.
Yeah.
We look at a problem. We go, well, okay, this is the symptom, and where's the problem? Let's work it all the way back and let's fix that. So I kind of tried to approach it, and you just got me thinking with what you just said there around. I said this to her. I said, life is a book, and she likes reading. I said, so think of life as a book, and you've just finished chapter 1, And chapter 2, you're going to take a few of the characters through to it, and you're going to leave some characters behind. And at the end of chapter 2, you're going to go to chapter 3, and you're going to keep doing this throughout your life. And some of those people will continue, but some of them will live in the earlier pages. And I think that is kind of like when we look at our journeys, they are like that. And I don't want to go too kind of out there with this, but they are like that because my world didn't start where it is now. I don't know anybody from primary school. I know one person from secondary school, from high school. I know people from college, so I know more and more because you get to choose your tribe and you get to choose where it is that you like. And the same thing goes for work. And it dawned on me that I've been doing what I'm doing now for nearly 10 years, which feels like a lifetime. And that's like more of the, I don't like to call it consulting, but it's more, if we're going to put it in a box, it's more the consulting kind of management consulting in IT. But that didn't start there. I couldn't do the work that I do now if I hadn't spent 8 years being a really poor recruitment consultant, or ran kind of big DIY stores, or ran bars, or all of these different things have kind of built the picture, and it's got to a point where I can be happier in the work that I do. That's not an eternal, and there's an excellent book. If you've never read this, I would recommend this book. It's called Solve for Happy. And it's by a guy called Mo Gaudat. Mo Gaudat was the chief officer of Google X, maybe the CEO of Google X. And it's a really sad story, but basically what he talks about is happiness can't be the goal because it's a fluctuating state. And he talks about his son who was like 20 and they were like best friends who were super close. And he spent obviously a lot of his time working at Google X, which has got to be a pretty demanding role in a senior role there. And he went for a routine appendectomy and he just never came out. He never came out alive. And it obviously crushed him. And then he talking from a story like that and somebody who's talking about happiness kind of helps you understand that we can't just have this constant utopic Mecca or Babylon, insert your religion here, which is of what happiness looks like and where we're going to be all the time, because it's never there. And if it is there all the time, then we don't appreciate it. So then happiness has to be here, and then it has to be here, and then it has to be here. So we need to be realistic with what it is that we're striving for. And success and happiness, I think, are two different things. And success also is not about money. It's never about, in my opinion, it's not. So like when we help people articulate and identify their goals for a business, often they start with, well, I want to buy a yacht. I want to retire at 50. I'm like,
dream board, the whole dream board concept, right? Yeah.
That might be your personal goal, but the business is never going to get excited by making sure Frank has a holiday home in Spain. I mean, one more step, we get another brick. It just doesn't transcend. So understanding what those triggers are, and this is again, Ethikai is named Ethikai because of, I think I said this in the last time we talked, was ethical and ikigai. And ikigai is about being really present and really understanding and appreciating what's in front of you. And although the fact that I'm a pretty open book. I'm okay. I'm going to the hospital after this call, but I'm fortunate to be in a world, and I can appreciate the fact that if it is something, I can get it dealt with, and I need to be pragmatic about that. And if it isn't something, great. But I'm in a world where I can get that stuff checked out. All is fine, but it is what it is. But the point here is if we appreciate the little things, we can appreciate the bigger things, and we don't let the days slip by. It's really hard to be present all the time. It's exhausting to be present all the time, but also don't fight it.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to and again, like I said, so I told everybody, so I'm going to go ahead and do this while I'm thinking about it. I apologize to everyone that I ever said was full of shit about that whole thing. I'll just go on the record. I apologize. You're right. When you do find the thing that it really resonates with you and you're passionate about, it really isn't work. And as much as I'm aligned to everyone in my head who used to say that, I'm telling the whole universe, look, me couple, this is on me. I apologize. Right, I do. So there it is. That's all you're getting, though. I'm not going to do it more than once. So that's it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm square. I'm square with the universe. But
blank slate.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. Drawn a line. I've done it. I've prostrated myself to the universe and said, sorry, I'm done. But back to your point about everything that you do, because and when I think back, and again, this was something, when that hit me, I reflected on all of the shitty things I had to go through. But while going through those, I was learning fundamental elements of what was necessary for me to be able to be here now. You know what I mean? So everything, good or bad in your life, contributes to your ability to get to a point. And I know this gets to be so corny. There are so many books written about this, about, like you said, solve for happy, or there are a plethora of other philosophical books that say if you will just be present while you're going through things, and you will have an opportunity you will have an opportunity to maximize the benefit to yourself and everyone around you if you will just be open to it as you go, right? I mean, that's the other thing. I was open to the idea of something happening. And look, it happens to me all the time. And if I had the people like you were talking about, I've got people I've been around since college, high school and college, that are still, it's a small group, but they're kind of the core of what keeps me welded to the earth, right? I mean, other than family, this is, family's important, but you need that other leg of the stool to kind of keep you, anchored to the earth. And those people that have been around me forever, I have been fortunate in that when things needed to happen to move us forward, they just seem to happen, right? So, I've always been open to the idea that, okay, you got to be listening, paying attention, be present, know when something's being put in front of you, do an honest job of evaluating it, no matter how you feel, like you're talking about. It doesn't matter if you're sick that week, or there's drama going on, or there's stress going on. You have to evaluate things that happen to you and look at them through the lens of, okay, is this an opportunity that I ought to integrate into my life, or is this just a distraction? It's one of the two. You got to kind of call the ball. You get better. I will tell everybody, you get better as you get older about being able to differentiate between the two, because you become more focused on what matters as you go. But this was one of those things. Our game is nothing more than I swear, this is how I feel about it. This is the universe going, you know what? We've put Bob through the mill. He has had one terrible, and you got to be relative. Terrible is not terrible for everybody on the planet, right? We're just like you were talking about. We're fortunate to be, in my reality,
good and what bad looks like. And this, what you're referring to, is down here, maybe not as great as you want.
It's in my reality. I've had to eat a lot of crap to get to, to get to this point. But I learned, I go back and I look at, okay, I learned to be not afraid about, the possibility of a company failing, because I put myself in those positions in these startups, and there were a couple that we should have been dead like 15 times, you know what I mean, in the same year. But what I got, and those were bad times, personally, because you didn't know, so much unknown. And I put myself out there and was taking a lot of risk at the time. And it seemed like every 15 minutes, a sword was was passing within a half inch of my head, just constantly, right? And you have to react to that mentally and stress wise. But after, what I realized is because of that, I really sort of dialing down what I felt like was scary. You know what I mean? Because after being so close to death so many times, it's like, okay, I've been through this. And what it turned out, it wasn't scary at all. It wound up being after years, it wound up being a huge gain. And I'm going, okay. So the universe is teaching you, look, you just have to be resilient, right? You got to have the will and the persistence to keep moving forward, even when all hell's breaking loose. That's really that's the decision you have. Am I going to keep moving forward? And am I going to be persistent? And do I have the will to be persistent? Yeah. Like you said, everything else,
the resilience,
it will work itself. Yes.
Resilience is character.
Yeah, it is. And so learning that in that really bad situation that wound up turning out good, but it was years later, all of those other experiences with all of these other organizations I've been a part of or a startup in, they bolted on all of these usable chunks of knowledge and experience, so that when this opportunity came up, it was so clear that this was the thing I needed to be spending my time on. It was so clear. It was not a premeditated business plan. It was I swear, it was the universe going, he has been through we put him through the mill. It's his turn. The karma has decided, okay, it's his turn. Let's give him a shot. As long as he does this for the betterment of the people around him and the universe, he's the person we ought to give this opportunity to. And being open to that seeing it. And then the thing that I was not prepared for is the amount of support and community support and everything that came along with that. After contributing and helping people for all these years, and not expecting anything in return, man, just trying to be a good human being. It's it's overwhelming even for me to see how many people wanted to help me push that rock up the hill without having any skin in the game at all, but just the fact that I decided that I needed to get this rock up the hill. And they go, well, you know what? Let's go help Bob get this damn rock up the hill.
Do you
You know what
know?
I
Do
mean?
you know? It's interesting because I think there's a couple of things there. Obviously, what you've done over the course of years is you've found your tribe, you found your people, and that's happened through being authentically you. Not trying to be anybody else. And the
No,
older you
right.
get, the more comfortable you become with yourself. Largely, a lot of people. Goes back to also what you were saying before, which was you've built something that hasn't been built before. You've built something that's not a commodity, but something that is, and this is the mistake that some people make when I say a lot of people make when they build a business is they get fixated on the business and the product and the service and forget about the people that they're serving and the problem that they're trying to fix, as opposed to building a solution to a problem. They're trying to find a solution, problem. They've built the solution and now they're trying to find
Yeah, they're in
who it
search of a
serves.
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And it seems like,
yeah,
well, okay, well, these are generally, look at any starts, these are the companies that struggle.
Mhm.
They're
Right.
the ones that struggle.
Yeah,
And you can fight the whole kind of niche as much as you want, but it works. If we could
yeah,
speak a language, I could do the work that I do probably less effectively to any industry, but I know IT. I like IT. My tribe is in IT, and I can speak the language, and we can pivot quickly and talk about more granular issues when we need to because we
yeah.
understand the mechanisms behind making it work. And so I think it's kind of like, that saying, the older you get, the wiser you get. And we go, it's just our kind of gut feeling, and whilst we've got three brains, and the limbic brain is where this comes from. And the limbic brain is, some people have this connection to feelings, and
Hmm.
they can respond to them. It's very difficult to put the language part to the feelings part. But the limbic brain is your gut feeling. They're the two things. They're directly in correlation with each other. Well, it's the same thing. And having that kind of and they're built up of all the experiences that you've had, which is why the older you get, the wiser you get. So because you've had more experiences, you're able to go, that didn't work, that didn't work, that could have been better, that didn't work, and now let's take all of that and go, I feel like this is just going to work. And you've then got a little bit more passion behind it, I guess is the word, going looping back to where we started because
Yeah,
of past experiences.
yeah. Well, yeah. Some, I feel, and I do. I feel really blessed by the whole process because, again, like you were talking about, I was talking about earlier. Don't go into something that's commoditized. But if you really look at what we do, we went into something that's been around for 30 some odd years, which is tabletop exercises. Cybersecurity readiness, tabletop, or even emergency response, tabletop exercises. Look, they've been around for 50 years. I mean, forever, probably. I mean, literally, they've probably been around forever, but they've existed in the same form that entire time, right? So the need, to your point, we didn't build a solution in search of a problem. The problem was there and had been there for a very long time. And it was a combination of problems. How do I have a strategic conversation with people so that they are willing to tell me what their real problems are so that we can help them build real solutions to the problem? Same thing you and I have been doing forever, right? I mean, trying to search for that. So me as an integrator, right, I back up and, okay, well, let's chop that up and see what's holding us back. That was the thought process that kind of brought us to the point where, okay, well, and let's try it. You know what I mean? That was the other thing we did. I would encourage everybody, when you're thinking you have an idea, you should do really short cycles of learning where you go, okay, let's just do a really rough cut of it and get it in front of human beings that we think have this problem to make sure that we're actually solving a real problem. Or are we just solving, or an ego problem or an emotional problem we think exists, but it really doesn't exist in the real world? And we call it, I mean, everybody's probably read the entrepreneurial manual, right, about fail fast and fail cheap. Figure that out early. Don't spend all your time and effort until you're sure that you're actually solving what you were talking about. You're not building a solution in search of a problem. You're building a solution to a problem that everyone has. You know what I mean? And do it in such a way that it's meaningful and unique and is going to be something that disrupts the status quo about how this has been done. And we can name all kinds of people that we know in our circle who do this, right? Who do this almost on a daily basis. They, you'll see them in one startup and then in another one, and they're working through the process of trying to find, that spot, right? But you should do that for everything, not just starting your own business. That needs to be your mentality if you work for somebody too, right?
Yeah. I think the way that we do it is we pin ourselves on where we want to be in like 25 years or something like that. Whatever that kind of number looks like.
I will tell you, as you get older, you shorten that time frame quite a bit. But
do you
to
know
your
what? I've
point,
had that a few times. Can I just go? Can I just go for 10? Can we do 10? But yeah, I've stuck with 25 years on mine, and I haven't got mine down verbatim actually because we've literally just kind of brought another director into the business and we tidied it up because it wasn't kind of
you're right.
exciting me. It wasn't tangible. It wasn't something that anyway. But the point is that the services that you can do will change over the course of the time. But
100%.
You as a collective of people will not change. You are those people. This is your mission. This is your goal. This is what you're working towards. This is the impact on the world that you're going to have. And it sounds all very grand. And it doesn't matter if you're a lifestyle business. You're still having an impact on the world. It just might be in a macro way. It's still an impact. And if you understand what that impact is at a visceral level, then you can build the products around to change that. I'll give you an example. Like I've never done one-on-one work with it's not that I've never done. I've always done these for free, actually. So, me and my consultants, we all give away 4 hours of our time, a minimum a week, because we like giving back. It's part of our values. We like kind of helping out because what goes around comes around, and some people need the support. Anyway, and so part of our ICP, our ideal client profile, is that ideally, somewhere 5 to 25 people, there or thereabouts. Ideal, not mandatory, ideal. Problem is when it's smaller than that, how much change can you implement? Are they in a position to go and do the things they're asking them to do, or is it just going to kind of weigh on them? I've had quite a few inquiries lately where it's been, can I just get like an hour with you a week? And I'm like, yeah, but, and then I go into my ops mode and like, well, what are we tangibly going to achieve? And am I adding value? Am I taking money off you really? Because I can't, unfortunately, my time is my money. But the service that we can offer it, and when you think about it in terms of the world, so we are building something where we can do this and start offering it out to people, and not just me, the other consultants as well. It's a really lonely place. We're blessed with, years of experience of dipping in and out of different businesses and seeing good ways of doing things and bad ways of doing things and easier ways and harder ways sometimes if you're a sycophant, if you're a masochist, of doing things. And, we can offer up a more pragmatic opinion. And I'm not on here to sell, I'm just trying to explain that based on where our goal is and where we're trying to go, it actually fits the model. We can still help people move forward. Yes, we're a business, so we need to sell that time, but we can pivot on the products and services that we're doing. So whilst right now it's IR game that you're leading up, well, you'll see another opportunity at some point in the future, which doesn't mean that you've got to bin that one, but it could either change direction or you could add another aligning service that fixes another problem because it's still fixing the same issue and helping the same kind of people. We can only do that if we understand where we're going.
Yep. Well, and I will tell you, to your point, because this is a good lesson for everybody as well. Again, this is experience talking. So yes, what we built, right? When I say it's an incident response exercise platform, that's really how I'm painting the picture of how it's being utilized today. But having the experience that I had over the years, what we've built is a middleware that has a lot of gamification mechanics in it that can be put together in a whole bunch of different ways to accomplish different goals. It's really a Swiss Army knife, just a whole backpack full of Swiss Army knife elements that we can literally, like get Legos, pull apart and put back together in different shapes without having to re-engineer anything from a framework standpoint. So it's loosely coupled and got a lot of flexibility. So why do I only refer to it again, to your point, why do I only refer to it as a cybersecurity incident response exercise platform? Because in order to get a business up off the ground, you have to focus. And this is another element that a lot of companies fail to grasp, especially when they have a visionary in the front seat and maybe they don't have a really good visionary integrator relationship going on, which is, I know it, Chris, that you guys can actually act as an offset to that for some of these smaller businesses when they don't have that combination. The point being that if you can't focus and stay centered on what you need to do, then you get drowned in all of the opportunities, because you're not wrong. I have people talking to me every day. Well, wait a minute, could we do this with it? Well, yeah, technically it can do that. There's no two ways about it. It can. It's so easy to get drug off center. You know what I mean? And when you've got people who are interested in investing in it, or you've got a lot of time and effort in it, I've learned over time the way you make things succeed is you stay focused. As long as you're believing in the core mission of what you're doing right now, there will be so many opportunities, because I tell people this all the time. Ideas are actually worth nothing. Great ideas are worth nothing. It's only when they're executed on and brought to life that they start having any value. But you will never run out of ideas. You'll never run out of people with ideas, and they will pour it on you every day from every direction. And that's the hard part of actually making all of this go. Is okay. Yeah, I get all of that, and all of those seem brilliant, and I would love to go do them because that's fun to go do. That part of the process is fun to go do. But that's not the mission right now. I have to stay focused on this, get this up, running, living. You're trying to get it from toddler to high schooler to graduating, right? And, being a full blown company that's holding its own. It's all got the cash flow it needs to survive. When you get to that point, then you can start entertaining the idea of, okay, what are the other next biggest problems that you could add to the list? But what I didn't do was engineer it in such a way that I was limited to doing only one thing. That's the key too. That's what experience tells you is, okay, if I'm going to spend time building something, don't just build it for what you're doing right that second. Think in terms of, okay, what is the core things that it's doing, and can I reuse them later for other things? Because that's just good, smart business strategy. You know what I mean?
MSPs that we're working with at the moment,
right,
or have done in the past. I mean, we're in this weird world where they're changing over to, I say changing over to, everybody's adopting AI. There you go. I said
yes.
AI.
There you go. Bound to happen at some point.
It had to happen at some point. I think, was that 2 episodes? So some people, and I would go as far to say, well, especially with the people that I've been around, the people that are really, really like getting behind it are the people who know that they've got probably another 40, 50 years in industry and they've got no choice. If they want to do this, they need to get behind it. Some of the people that I've spoken to, and again, I'm not putting people in boxes here, that have decided to go down the M&A route are like, this is just, I can't do it again. I don't want to change again. And they're like, okay, let's just maybe cash out or work out a way of not have to take this on because it's just a bit too much. It's either I don't get it or I don't want to get it, or make it somebody else's problem. All fine, no problem. But the models are changing for MSPs. The model of, I was showing you before this call, we've got, we spend a lot of time building next generation accountability charts for companies and going, this is where you are and this is where you want to be, help it, we pull that out of them. And then we go, okay, well, what does the team need to look like in 3 years in order to kind of make sure we're on the right trajectory to get there? Because we don't know where it's going to go and what new is going to happen, because let's be honest, AI is never going to be as crap as it is today. It's only going to be better tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And, you hear people talking about, okay, help desk. Well, actually, a conversation that comes up quite often. I've got a service delivery manager. Okay, have you got a service delivery manager? Have you got a help desk manager? Well, it's just the same. It's semantics. No, it's not. Nope. They're different roles. What do you mean they're different roles? I'm like, well, what's different? I'm like, well, what does your help desk manager do? Well, my help desk manager is mainly managing the support desk. Okay, great. That's the help desk manager. If your help desk manager is doing central services, if you have central services, and they're doing proactive or projects, then that's a service desk manager. They're doing everything to do with service. They're the guardian of all that lot. And they are two different roles. And in a big business, a service delivery manager is arguably one of the toughest roles in a business. It is relentless because you get all the crap. Now, a lot of the businesses are going, MSPs are going from, or at least talking about, how do we get rid of first line? Okay, well, number one is, how do we get rid of first line as we know it? is going to change. Yes, elements of that are going to be automated. We need to ask the question, do our clients, the people that we're serving, want that? Because if we don't, we're forcing a square peg down a round hole. There's a question to answer in number one. But we need to be equipped so that things can filter through and we're working on the right things at the right time. So we've got the engineers who are sat in that, the ambassadors of our brand, in that desk, working through ticket after ticket after ticket, and the right kind of person who likes to work through ticket after ticket after ticket, not somebody who likes to go and solve complex issues working on first. Yes, it's a rite of passage, first line, but it's also some people's destination. Let's have them, if they want to be there, let's make sure they can be there. But it's about minimizing really over long term that support desk and how that works. Because if you've got a good central services team, and what I mean by central services is that everything that sits in between proactive services, project management, and support, everything that sits between those two sits in central services. So all your subject matter experts, these don't have to be individuals, by the way. They can sit on the support desk and they can sit in the projects. They've just got different hats that they wear at different times.
That's right.
And they can be like an AI SME. They can be a, Dynamics SME. They can be a firewall SME. You can have experts in your business. So you know that we've always got to have that person. We have those in the central team of, automation implementation engineers. We have automation maintenance engineers because they're two different things. We've got change team. All that's central. The idea being, and a lot of it, I can't even remember how I got onto this point, but I'll carry on if that's all right.
No.
We look at where the industry's going, which is if MSPs know, they want to continue supporting in the way that they do, that they're going to have to evolve a little bit to stay competitive.
Right.
And that first line needs to be cleaner. It needs to be quicker because they're going to see other MSPs that are offering this out. Maybe some of the bigger IT MSPs that are maybe got a bit more backing and a bit more process, a bit more technology and investment to go and make these things happen, and they're going to be able to charge less. Especially if you're not standing out there with any personality and doing that account management, which actually before we started, this was the topic we were going to talk about.
Oh, you're right. We're going to have to come back to that, and do another episode. But yeah,
I think we will. Like, how do we get under the hood of understanding what the clients want? And this is not everything that I talked about there with that service desk, with that service delivery manager role, central services, proactive services, help desk. That's the output of everything that you guys do. And it's not necessarily a department. Everything else, finance, procurement, account management, billing, everything is in service of that happening. And we forget that often in this industry. There's a lot of we do overcome. We get lost in the mechanisms to get to that bit and forget about that bit. So often we need to go back to that bit and say, this is why we're here.
Yeah. Well, Chris, the honest answer is that, we're putting it in terms of a managed service provider, but that the same mechanics are there for every business. Quite literally, every business has they're basically a fundamental assembly line, right? There's demands coming in the front end of this. Salespeople are acquiring customers. It comes in, specifications are written. They come down the pipeline. Service delivery, we call it service delivery, which is what you were talking about, everything between project management and support. We would call that service delivery, from here. That's what I would call it. And service delivery has to work with project management to be able to make all that stuff work and get installed correctly. If they have all the information they need to make that happen, which is, again, the whole process has to be engineered so that every person, when they get when they get the starting gun for what they need to be doing, they've got everything they need to be able to go do it, right? And then, as to your point, that anybody who's ever been involved in building a house or working with a contractor to get a house built knows how miserable that middle part is, right? Because you're having to manage multiple variables and the customer and the personalities and all of that stuff to try and go from nothing to something actually being installed and up and running, and then being handed off to the support mechanism to continue.
And you're going to have to factor in using a portaloo for a while as well.
Yeah, right. There's all kinds of weird problems in that middle zone, like you're talking about. It requires a very special talent to be able to live at the management level in that slot, and because you got to be so flexible about how your everyday cannot be robotic. Especially in the managed service business, you have to have the ability to think on your feet and to make adjustments on the fly. And it is the most demanding component of everything, but it is the core of every production line of every company in the world. There is that point where someone is taking the responsibility to deliver on what was promised, right? And that is that delivery of what was promised. That is where the real rubber meets the road. There is trying to get people to buy something that doesn't exist yet. There's people who support it after it's already up and running and exists in the real world. And then there's those people in the middle, like you're talking about, who have to take it from paperwork to physical, actually physically being available for the customer at that point. And that's where a lot of that magic happens. They work hand in hand with the project management team, right? So that they can schedule and be efficient on resources and all of those things. And to your point, MSPs are going to have to evolve going forward. And even the smaller ones, I will say this, the opportunity for them is that they can use AI to fill some of the gaps that they have because they couldn't afford the people to do some of those other jobs. They can deploy automation and use artificial intelligence in a very structured way. I'm not talking about just gripping and ripping it. That's not how this works, right? But if they are capable of understanding and working, or at least learning what they need to about deploying that as a technology tactic and what it is they're trying to get done, they're going to have the opportunity to actually do what much bigger organizations were the only ones who had the resources, like you said, the bankroll to actually pull off. So they got an opportunity here to actually fill a gap that they've always wanted to, but did not have the resources to necessarily be able to do, because in our world, payroll is always the biggest. In the MSP world, payroll is always the biggest expense, right? That's always going to be your biggest line of expense on the P&L. So anything that allows you to do more work with the same number of people moves the needle in the right way from a margin standpoint and from just a top line revenue and margin standpoint simultaneously. So yeah, and this is how it's going to be from now on. That's the other thing I think we got to caution everybody on, by the way. And it's going to change. It's never going to be, you're not going to be able to come up with a workflow and leave it alone for a year. That's not how it's going to be anymore. You're going to have to, it's a living, breathing entity now. So you're going to have to figure out how to navigate that.
These aren't just MSP problems.
No,
SMEs.
This is everybody problem.
Across the board are relying on MSPs to know everything about everything that's got anything to do with technology. And it's such a dynamic industry that it adds pressure. It adds a lot of pressure, and it's tough. It's tough, and it's why I like doing what I do, so I can share a bit of the pain. Because maybe I'm a bit of a masochist. I like kind of I like being needed. There's a lot of people out there that are running MSPs and just doing their best, and they're going off, the whole no knowns, no unknowns, and unknown unknowns. Was it Donald Rumsfeld who said that? And they're operating from their known knowns. Now we've got quite a lot of known unknowns, but there's a whole heap of unknown unknowns with the world at the moment.
Right.
And they're trying their best. And there are people that are focusing on certain elements. Obviously you focus more on the service element now of the business with IR Game. Why not partner with somebody like you and work with somebody who helps them look differently, because the way that they deliver service and how they mitigate these problems, and here's some real-time crisis management, it helps put them above the curve. And I think that if everybody was to just go out, just go, well, what do I know? What do I care about? And what do I not care about? I like the Eisenhower matrix, I'm mindful of time here, but the urgent and important top left. Urgent, so important but not urgent, top right, delegate, and then not important. I use not important as your long-term issue park list. Don't delete that. That's good.
That's right.
The bottom left stuff, which is delegate. If you've got nobody to delegate, look at the catalog of things that you've got in there and go, who do I need to go and partner with to go and help me with this? I've had recently, and I've seen this a lot in my time. We take projects on because they're our client, and we take a project on. So the MSPs take a project on, and I see it specifically with migrations. I take a migration project on, and guess what? Because we don't fully understand the ins and outs of doing that, because we don't do it as bread and butter, every single time if we've scoped it at all, there's 50% scope creep, which is free business that we're giving away and causing more pain on the service desk. Why not go and find a partner that does migrations and somebody who lives that?
Yes.
And all these are opportunities out there to go and kind of spread it. You don't have to feel all the pain yourself. Yes, you might need to give up a little bit of margin, but it's worth it in the long term. You're not breaking your stuff.
Well, no, you got the opportunity too, that if you work with them long enough and you learn enough, then you could take it in-house at some point. The whole point, I call those shock absorbers. These partnerships should be the shock absorbers that allow you to deal with the volatility of how the whole technology ecosystem works, right? So if you partner with those and it gives you that shock ability, that shock absorber ability to absorb those things and still produce an output, yeah, your margins are lower, but you're learning everything you need to later to bring that in-house and make that a much bigger margin driver. So yeah.
I was just going to say, and before the last point that we're going to close on is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah, I agree.
We are tribal people. People are tribal. We need other people.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to now ask you, because you're a music man. What have you been listening to? What's your music this week?
Yeah, I have continued to follow along. I keep digging. What you've done is you've started me down pulling these threads on this rug. You know what I mean? So I have been kind of digging through all of because what I do is I go, okay, that band's really cool. I wonder if I can find out somebody who's like them, right? Who's kind of in that same, that sort of
that's
same.
New. It's new.
Yeah. That I haven't heard before. Yeah, 100%. And I went and found a couple of the one. So, we talked about Kalia, right? We were talking about those guys, but there's another group called the Blue Stones that I found, who again.
Blue Stones, right?
Yeah. You have to say, because they sort of fit that MO. But I would have never known about them. Again, I keep telling everybody this because it's important, right? You put me onto a thread, and of course, me not, because I do love music. I mean, you see what's behind me, right? It's not like I don't advertise that I love music and playing it and listening to it. But I started pulling on that thread, and the Blue Stones came up as another. And I've been listening to their catalog now for the last 2 weeks, just kind of going at it, because all coming through that same thread. So, what about you?
Well, as I mentioned, don't want to martyr myself or anything, but been poorly, so I needed some upbeat music this week. So I've been listening to Smooth and Terrell. If you've not come across those guys, they've got a really good background, and just nice and upbeat. So I've been listening to lots of that. I also like a little bit of Cage the Elephant as well. Despite wearing a Black Keys t-shirt, I've not been listening to the Black Keys recently.
Yeah, we were talking about AI. One thing we'll have to talk about at some point is that I have been, for a while now, I have been playing around with some of these music generators, AI music generator. But for me, it's kind of great because I can put in a melody and all that sort of deal and actually get something out of it. But we should talk about that at some point because it's got all kinds of polarizing edges to it. But it's a very good observation about how the capabilities of these tools has been evolving, in such a rapid pace, right? So it's a cool medium to use as that discussion.
We will talk about that, but I didn't even realize recently that I went down a rabbit hole of listening to some YouTube music, and I didn't even realize it was AI. It was awesome.
That's correct.
And it was kind of like Gary Clark Jr., kind of like dirty.
Yeah. I got some of the same things that I generated. I'm going to send you the SoundCloud link to so you can listen to it. Yeah, because it's interesting.
We should start a little Spotify playlist. On the back of it.
Yeah. That's a good idea. All right, I'm in.
But yeah, next time we'll go into, I think, like how we connect with our clients, with our end users. I think that comes up a lot. I think that'd be a good topic to have a chat about. But
and I like that.
About 45 minutes in.
Yeah, I like that. And you had that. We looked at it before this call. We were going, hey, this whole new age accountability is really, I think people would find fascinating. And we said, yeah, let's talk about that. And then we literally took a right turn and never went back.
Around the houses.
We took a right turn and never came back around. So we could do that next time.
Well, that's what you get for unscripted. That's fine.
Well, that's what we are, unscripted.
That's us. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And come see what the hell we're going to do next time, because even we don't know.
We'll find out when we do it.
That's exactly right. See y'all.